Hello and welcome to Yin Yoga for Kickboxers. This is going to be the first of a three-part series where we do some poses that can really help you in your kickboxing journey. So this class is actually inspired by somebody very special to me. He's an amazing kickboxer. He's been doing incredible things and I have been so honoured to watch his journey, and I'm really excited to bring you a class that can help support you in your kickboxing journey. So this class is a Yin Yoga class, as mentioned. If you've never done Yin before, it is a class where we hold the poses for between 3 to 5 minutes. So we're really allowing the body time to sink in deeply. I won't be talking a lot when we get to the class, but I will be talking you into the poses obviously, and then just giving you time to sit with it and feel. This can be quite a challenge, especially for people who love to move and are always forward thinking and one step ahead as you do when you're focused in your kickboxing. So this class may be a bit of a challenge, but bear with me because the benefits you will gain from it will be amazing. So we're going to be focused today on the lower body, getting into the hips and the legs so that you can really open up this area to help you when you are kicking in your kickboxing. So I do recommend having a few props in this class. So you can either have a bolster, which I have got here. I know not a lot of people will have bolsters, but I do highly recommend them. They are super comfy, help you sink into poses a little bit deeper. If you don't have a bolster, then you can actually bring a couple of cushions in, especially if they're square. I recommend having two. Or if they're a long rectangle one, similar to the bolster, you could just have one, but just make it work for you in your practice. I am going to use the bolster today because it helps me get into my pose, but you don't have to have a bolster, you can use a cushion. Another prop I would recommend having is a blankie. Because we are sinking into these poses quite deeply, if you are on a hard floor, having something like a blanket can really help to have them under your knees to just help the knees feel okay. And also they're just super comforting, which is kind of what we love in Yin. So let's begin today's class coming into fire log pose. So what we're going to do is sink back onto our bottoms, and we're going to bring our left leg, and it's going to come out straight from the hip, and our shin and calf is going to come along the long side of the mat. We're then going to take our right leg, and again, bringing it straight out from the hip, and we're going to take that right ankle and place it right on top of the left knee, and our right knee is coming on top of our left foot, our left ankle. So you may begin to be feeling this even just here in the hip area. I specifically can feel it in my right hip a little bit more, and it is already a little bit of a challenge. So just sitting here, you can bring your hands to wherever is comfortable, just sitting on the knees, and just really lengthen up tall through the spine. So we're going to be here in this part of the pose for about a minute. So just allow yourself the space and time to sink into it. In Yin, it's really a good idea to focus in on the breath, because as we hold these poses for a longer amount of time, it can actually become quite a challenge. So just focus in on that breath today. The breath will always get us through. And as you hold here, you may begin to feel things start to open up a little bit more. And this may mean that you might want to come forward a little bit. So you might begin to bring your elbows to your knee and your ankle, folding over the legs a little bit as you've created some space. If you are still sitting up tall, then no, that's okay too. It's just listening to your body and where it's at today. And if you feel like you've got space still and you want to move in a little deeper, you might begin to walk the hands to the mat and fold over a little further. Your elbows may come down to the ground. If they don't, and you want to take a bolster in front of you and fold onto the bolster or the pillow, then please do so. Making this work for you and your body. This is a slightly different pace to your kickboxing, I'm sure, where you're kind of go, 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 right? Either blocking punches or taking punches and kicks and things. But just allow yourself the space and time, because stretching is just as valuable as that fast-paced movement. We're coming into our final minute here. So now's the time, if you haven't come any further and you want to come down further, now's the time to do so. And if you come in and you find you've gone a little bit far, just pull back out. There's no right or wrong, it's just listening to your body in each pose, in each space. And taking 3 more rounds of breath here. Preparing the body to move. And on your final exhale, letting go. And as you inhale, beginning to lift up, walking yourself back if you've come down, and all meeting together here. Great. So now we're going to do the opposite leg. So we're going to release the legs and just bring the feet in front of you. Take your hands behind you, and we're just going to allow ourselves a little time here to let go before we move to the other side. So you might rock your knees from side to side. And then coming back to center, and we're going to set up with the right leg first. So the thigh is coming out from the hip. Our right shin is parallel to the long side of the mat. We're going to take our left leg and place it on the top. So your left ankle is over your right knee. Your left knee is over your right ankle. So starting by sitting up here, just hands coming to the knee and the ankle, allowing yourself a minute to just really settle and find yourself here in this space. Tuning back into that breath. Allowing it to be your anchor here. There's a fly in my house. It's going to drive me insane. but this is just as much a class of letting go. So I'm going to let go of that fly. Beginning to fold forward by taking the elbows down. You may start to feel this a little bit more. Just notice if you do. And like I said before, if you come in a little far and you need to move back out, then you know where to go. Now option to stay here if here feels like enough for you, or option to come further still by either bringing that bolster in front of you or pillow resting on that, or walking the hands forward and folding over the legs. Now Yin is a very introspective practice. It's where you're really tuning into yourself and into your body. And really allowing yourself that space and time to listen to it, to its sensations and to what it's feeling. It's about simply being present. And just notice here if you're feeling that urge to get up and get moving and do something. It's all right, we all have it. But allow yourself the space and time for you to slow down, to feel. And to really just allow your body the space to heal and to be. We're coming into our final minute here. So if you want to come deeper, now's the time to do so. Final 3 rounds of breath here. A round being both an inhale and an exhale. And after your final exhale, as you inhale, ground down into the hands, lift up, beginning to walk back, taking your time to get back. There's no rush and meeting here. Releasing that left foot to the ground, and releasing the right foot to the ground. We're going to take our hands behind us and just allow ourselves a moment to rock the legs from side to side, noticing how they feel. Then from here, we're going to bring the soles of our feet together and allow our knees to drop open in butterfly pose. So, the closer your feet are towards your groin, the more you will feel this, you can take them further away. There's no right or wrong, it's just about you and what you need here today. So feet together, knees apart, and we're just going to bring our hands to our ankles to begin with and lengthening up all through that spine. And you might close down the eyes so that you can really tune in. Now, option to stay here, or option to take your bolster, your pillow, whatever you've got, and just placing it on top of your feet in towards the groin area, and we're going to begin to fold forward over the bolster. You can bring one hand down and then the other, placing your forehead on the hands, or you can simply just fold over it, bringing the forehead down onto the bolster or pillow. Now, option to stay here, really relaxing over that bolster if that feels good for you. Or option to move that to the side and just allow the elbows to come to the inner knees and allow the back to round as you fold forward over the feet. Just allowing gravity to do its thing here. Now at any point, if you want to move a little deeper, you can. Maybe bringing the elbows to the mat and just allowing that head to come down towards the feet. But each movement you take, just finding what feels good for you. Final 3 rounds of breath here. And then on your next inhale, lifting up and walking the hands back towards you. Bringing the hands to the outside of the knees here and just helping your knees come up and together. And then taking your hands behind you again and allowing the feet and the knees, to just rock from side to side. Getting so relaxed, I can't remember what my body parts are called. All right, from here we're just going to transition in over to our knees. We're not going to be here in this position for very long because it's quite a challenging one. So we're just going to be here for a little bit of time before we move into our next pose. But we're going to come up onto our knees and we're going to take our toes and tuck them under. If they're not all tucked under, then you might help them with your hands. And then from here, we're either going to stay here if this feels like enough for you, because we often don't stretch our toes. But if you would like a little more, you might begin to walk your hands back towards you. Again, option to stay here, or option to come up further still by bringing the hands to the legs and coming up to sit here in fire toe pose. Like I said, it's not often we stretch our toes, so this can feel quite activating straight away. But just sit with it. We're only going to be here for 1.5 minutes. At any point, if it's too much for you, just come out a little bit. Either by walking your hands back down to the mat, coming back to where we began. Final 3 rounds of breath. And then from here, slowly taking your time to walk your hands down and forward, untucking the toes and just patting the feet out a little bit. Beautiful. All right, from here we're going to bring our bolster, our cushion in, and we're going to bring it in underneath our bottom because we're coming into Malasana pose. So we're going to bring our feet to the outside of the mat, on the short side. Your heels are coming in slightly and your toes are pointing out slightly, but they're as wide as the mat. I'm going to turn to face you so that you can actually see what I'm doing here. So our feet are wide and we're sitting back on our bolster. You might want to move your bolster or pillow back ever so slightly, just so that if you want to remove it during the pose, as we hold here in the pose, then it's back far enough that you can do so. And we're just going to bring our elbows to our inner knees, bringing the palms to prayer position, and just simply sitting here in Malasana. This is a supported Malasana, but already I can feel it's activating a little bit here. I can feel it in my hips. Always coming back to that breath. Noticing the sensations that are arising for you here in this pose. Where can you feel it the most? Now, option to stay here on the bolster, or option to remove the bolster by lifting the hips slightly, moving it back and out of the way, and sinking down into your malasana. Lengthen up through the spine as you sit here. Breathing and focusing. Now, of course, you don't have to be a kickboxer to do this class, but if you are, just remembering that we're here to open up those hips to help with your kicks. Keep that focus as you breathe into it. We're in our final minute now. Now taking those final 3 rounds of breath here. And then to come out of it, we're just going to take our hands behind us and sink our bottoms down to the mat. Allow the legs to just stretch out long. And you might point and flex your toes. You might wriggle the legs a little. Just find what feels good for you here. And then we're going to turn, well, I don't know, you're probably already facing the short side of your mat. But I'm going to turn and we're going to come onto our hands and knees, facing the short side of our mat. And we're going to bring our knees in underneath our hips. And we're going to extend the right leg long. Lifting that leg up in line with the hip, and as you exhale, we're going to step that right foot to the outside of the right hand, coming into lizard pose. Now, hands are under the shoulders. If you'd like to, you can tuck those left toes and move that left knee back ever so slightly if you feel like you've got the space to do so. And then we're just going to hold and breathe here. Just going to take my watch off so I can see for time-wise. Now, if you are on a hard surface and this left knee is feeling a little activated, please feel free to take your blanket and just prop it under the knee to help support it. Now, option to stay here or option to bring that bolster or pillow in underneath the hands here. And if you feel like you've got a bit more space by using that bolster, you might come down to your elbows. Now if you still feel like you have a little bit more space and room to move here, you might come to the pinky toe side of that right foot and allow the right knee to drop open and away from the right shoulder. Breathe in here. And if you feel like you have space and you want to go further, deeper still for our final minute, you might even remove that bolster and come down onto the elbows on the mat. But listening to your body and what it needs today. And again, knowing that if any time you come in and it's a little too deep, you can just back out of it slightly. Final 3 rounds of breath here. And on your next inhale, bringing the hands to the mat, lifting yourself up, taking your time to come out of this, rolling back onto that right foot, sinking those hips back over that left knee so you can walk that right knee back. Now, option to just take a moment, swaying side to side. You might move forward and back, just whatever feels good for you here. You might take some number 8s with the hips. Find what feels good for you here in this moment as we are between the poses. And then coming back into that tabletop so you can tuck the toes of the left leg, sending that left leg back, lifting it up in line with the hip and stepping that left foot forward to the outside of the left hand. Now again, option to tuck those right toes, sending that right knee back ever so slightly. But listening to your body and where it's at today. Tuning into that breath. Now our option to bring that bolster or pillow in under the hands, whatever you have available to you. Creating a bit more space, and if you find that this creates more space than you need and you want to come in a little deeper, you might take the elbows down. And really just doing whatever you can to relax into it, into the posture. Allowing the breath to help you sink in a little deeper. Now if you feel like you have a little bit more space here and you want to go in a little deeper, you might roll to the pinky toe side of that left foot and allow that left knee to drop open away from the shoulder. Now option to stay here or option to go deeper still by removing that bolster out of your way so you can come down onto the elbows on the mat. This is your final minute, so come into wherever you want to come to for this. Final 3 rounds of breath here. Then on your next inhale, walking the hands to the mat, coming back up, lowering that left foot down, and then sending the hips back over that right knee to step your left foot back. Bringing the knees together, and we're just going to sink our hips back to our heels and reach our arms forward for child's pose. Now from here we're going to come up to sit. We're going to come into frog pose. So we're going to turn on the long ways of our mats. Again, if you have got a hard floor, I highly recommend the blanket because this is going to be supportive under your knees. And you want to take it quite long because we're going to be taking our knees wide apart. So taking it long to support under your knees. I've actually got a really soft surface here, so I'm not going to use it. But if you don't, then honestly, it is so helpful for your knees. So what we're going to do is we're going to come up onto our hands and knees and we're going to begin to walk our knees wider than our hips. And then we're going to make sure our shins and calves are parallel to the short side of the mat, and then our feet are going to come parallel to the long side of the mat. So we're creating lots of 90-degree angles. And then from here, we're going to bring our elbows to the mat or the ground, and we're going to simply allow our hips to move back in line with our knees. And we're just going to simply breathe here. Now, option if you would like a little bit of support in this position to take the bolster or the pillows underneath you. I can't reach my bolster, but I'll show you with a pillow. Underneath you to lift you up, to hold you. You can put 1, 2 underneath you to help prop you up. Whatever feels good for you. Or simply holding and breathing here. Now as you hold here, you may feel like there's a little bit more space, and if there is, you might again just focus on sending those hips back in line with the knees, or you may walk your knees out slightly further. But there's no pressure, just doing what feels good for your body today. This is a pretty strong pose. So really focusing in on that breath as you hold here. Utilizing the props as you need and making it work for you. Final minute here. You can do this. Breathing, focusing, allowing the hips to open. Final 3 rounds of breath here. And to come out of this pose, we're going to begin to walk our hands forward ever so slowly, allowing those hips to drop to the mat. Walking those knees in line with the hips and just simply allowing those feet to drop from side to side. Extending the legs back long and then just bringing one hand on top of the other and lowering your forehead onto your hands for crocodile pose, just allowing yourself space to relax here. And then bringing the hands under the shoulders and pushing back up to sit on your knees. All right, taking your big toes together and your knees as wide as the mat, we're going to come into a wide-legged child pose here. So knees as wide as the mat, toes are together, and you can either bring your bolster or pillows in underneath here, hoiking it up into the groin and folding over it. Same goes with your pillows, hoiking them up into the groin and folding over it. Or you can just sink down into the space you've created, walking those hands forward, allowing that forehead to come to the mat and just simply breathing here.
As you stay here, you might find you've created more space and your hands can move forward or your forehead can move forward. You might remove a prop or two, just listening to your body and what it needs here today. Final 3 rounds of breath here. And then beginning to walk the hands in, lifting up to sit. Bringing those knees together. And we're going to transition down onto our backs. So taking those feet to one side, bringing them out in front of you, and lowering down onto your back. Now from here, we're going to walk our feet as wide as the mat and allow the knees to drop in on one another. So they're just resting in a triangle shape on one another. One hand to the belly, one hand to the heart. And just breathing here, allowing those knees to do the opposite to what they have been doing, which has been doing a lot of opening in the hips. Just allowing ourselves the space and time to rest here. And then walking the feet in line with the hips, and we're going to take our right leg and take that right ankle just past the left knee. So we're opening that right knee out to the right side, and we're going to take our hands and we're going to take the left hand to the outside of the left leg, the right hand right through the gates the legs have made, bringing that left knee in towards the chest and taking the hands just behind the knee here for threaded needle. Now flexing through that right foot and just keep allowing that right knee to be open. I don't know if you can hear that noise, but it's my slow cooker allowing steam to exit. It's cooking me a stew for tea. Our option to stay here still, or you can take your hands to the top of that left knee. Third option is to extend that left leg and taking the hands around the calf. Seeing if you can keep those shoulders down on the mat as you hold here. Releasing the clasp of the leg, taking that left foot down to the mat, uncrossing the right leg, walking those feet wide again, as wide as the mat, and allowing the knees to drop in on one another. Walking those feet back in line with the hips, taking the left foot this time and crossing it just past the right knee, allowing that left knee to drop open. Hands coming one to the outside of the right leg, the other to the inside, and clasping behind the knee here. Breathing into it. And this is our final pose before Shavasana today. But I do implore you to stay for Shavasana. Shavasana is a very important pose. While it might not feel like you're doing anything, it actually allows the body the space and time to really calibrate and just feel all that it's been through in this class. Now, option to stay here or option to take those hands above that right knee, holding here. I can feel it much deeper in this leg. Whew.
Now, like I said before, this is the first of a 3-part series for Yoga for Kickboxers. If you did enjoy this class, please give it a thumbs up. And if you want to stay for the journey, subscribe and continue to follow along for the next 2 sessions. Third option, to extend that right leg and taking the hands to around the calf. Seeing if you can keep those shoulders on the mat as you hold here. Releasing the clasp of the hands and bringing that right foot down to the mat. Releasing the left foot. Now as we come into Shavasana, I encourage you to make yourself really comfortable. You might take your bolster or your pillows and just place them under your knees here. So as you extend your legs out long, your knees are resting on the bolster. You might take your blankie and wrap yourself up real snug. Snug as a bug in a rug, so that you're nice and warm. And then when you're ready, just allow your hands to come down beside you, palms faced up. And just simply relax and be here, allowing the body to just reset. You've done a lot of work today. And even though it's a slower practice, it doesn't mean you're not working hard, you are. So just allow this, your body, your beautiful vessel, space and time to recalibrate from all the hard work you are doing, both in your kickboxing and here in your yin class.
Beginning to lengthen the inhales and the exhales. Taking some movements through the fingers and the toes. And reaching the arms overhead for a full body stretch. Before bending the knees, pushing that bolster or pillow out of the way and rolling to the right side. Pausing here for a moment, just finding space for gratitude for your amazing body that does so much work for you. And then when you're ready, finding your way up to sit. Bringing the hands together in front of the heart. Thank you so much for joining me today on this Yin for Kickboxer practice. I hope that you found it beneficial, that it opened up your hips a little bit, and that helps you with your kicks. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Namaste. Now, as always, if you did like this class, then please give it a thumbs up. It really helps the channel out. If you want to see more videos like this and follow along for the next 2 sessions in Yoga for Kickboxing, then hit the subscribe button. Comment down below. Let me know how you found this class. I would love to hear from you. I love to connect with you. So please comment. Give me a hey. Let me know what you're up to. Let me know how you found it. And I would be really grateful and incredibly happy. Have a wonderful rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye for now.